That's why I feel the words of the great master have been unintentionally misquoted or mistranslated. He told me one of the cardinal themes of the great master Jesus was reincarnation, something almost entirely omitted in our biblical account of him, also in our religious services. He told me many legends about Jesus that permeated Oriental lore, one of which he said was universal and told everywhere. The scene is laid in Lahore, where Jesus was staying with one Ajainin, who was one of Jesus' pupils. One day Jesus and Ajainin were sitting on the porch of the temple, and while sitting there a band of wandering minstrels entered the court and began to play. Their music was very rich and delicate, and Jesus remarked, "Amongst the highest of the land we have no sweeter music than that which these uncouth children of the jungles bring to us." Ajainin asked, "Whence do they get this talent? In one short life they surely could not acquire such perfection of voice and such knowledge of harmony and time." Jesus answered, "Men call them prodigies. They are no prodigies. All things result from natural laws. These people are not young. 1,000 years would not suffice to give them such divine expressions and such purity of voice. 10,000 years ago, these people had mastered harmony. In days of old, they trod the busy thoroughfares of life and caught melody of the voice of nature. They have come again to learn still other lessons from the varied notes of nature." Was a master of the cosmic forces with a perfect knowledge of the original religion is manifest in the books of the New Testament, but it is not shown there that he understood the language of Mu. His acquaintance with it is proved with his last words when nailed to the cross, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani." This is not Hebrew, nor any tongue which is spoken in Asia Minor during the life of Jesus. It is the pure tongue of the Motherland, badly pronounced and spelt in the New Testament. It should have been spelt, read, and pronounced, "Hele, hele, lama sabachthani." Translation, "Hele, I faint. Hele, I faint. Lama sabachthani. Darkness is coming over my face." I do not stand alone in this translation. The late Don Antonio Batres Jaraquay, a prominent Maya scholar of Guatemala, in his book A History of Central America, says, "The last words of Jesus on the cross were in Maya, the oldest known language." He says they should have read, "Hele, hele, lama sabachthani," put in English, "Now I am fainting, the darkness covers my face." Thus, we virtually agree on all material points. The slight differences are easily explained. Jaraquay spells the word lama, I spell it lamat. He spells the word sabak, I spell it zabak. This difference is brought about by the translation coming from two different lines of colonization. Mine comes from the Naga Maya of eastern India. Jaraquay's comes from the modern Maya of Central America. The two, taken from vastly different parts of the earth, agree in all material points. To make the sacred symbols as intelligible as possible, I am dividing them into classes. I shall start out with the highest, most sacred symbol of all, the sun as Ra, symbolizing the deity. It is a collective symbol representing the deity with all his attributes, and the only symbol that does so. Next will be given the symbols of his various attributes. The sun was a monotheistic symbol of the deity. As the monotheistic or collective symbol, it was called Ra, and being a monotheistic symbol, it was looked upon as the most sacred of all symbols. While each attribute of the deity, in several cases, has various symbols expressing it, there is only one monotheistic or collective symbol. During the early history of man, there were no gods but the one great infinite. The gods crept into religious ceremonies later. The beginning of the gods was when the four great creative forces were given the name of gods. Scientists and archaeologists, not comprehending the ancient form of writing and symbolisms, have unfortunately spread broadcast the error that the ancients worshipped the sun, when the fact is that they regarded the sun as a symbol only. And when they dedicated a temple to the sun, it was to the Almighty as either the deity, the one Lord God, or the Almighty as his male attribute in creation. This is one of the most interesting of the ancient conceptions. It arose from the assumption that to produce anything, male and female were required. So that gave the Creator two principles, the sun symbolizing the male and the moon the female. Symbols were then designed to express the different phases, if it can be so called. First, a symbol was devised to express the dual capacity. This they called Lahun. the English translation of which being 2 in 1, 1 in 2, and by extension, all in one and one in all. The glyph Lahun is a circle with a bar cut through its center. The Mexican tablet number 150 shows the sun symbolizing the male principle, and the same cut shows the moon symbolizing the female principle. It was quite usual among the ancients when erecting temples to build two near each other. The large one was dedicated to the sun as the male principle, and the smaller to the moon as the female. The lines on tablet 150 read, "The Creator created one. One became two, and two produced three, from whom all mankind descended. The top face symbolizes the sun. The lower face without rays symbolizes the moon." The Egyptians were not content with having the moon symbolize the female attribute of the Creator, so they devised a symbol for the moon which they called Isis. Thus, they made a symbol to symbolize a symbol. The intricacies of what Isis was, beyond symbolizing nature and being the executrix of God's commands, was only understood by the Egyptians themselves, and they were not at all in accord on the subject. In ceremonies and processions, Isis wore her headdress as a moon with a pair of cow's horns. With the Egyptians, cow's horns symbolized motherhood. The goddess Sati of Upper Egypt and the goddess Hathor both had cow's horns in their headdress. Hathor had a moon also like Isis. This appears to me that Sati, Hathor, and Isis all symbolized the same thing, only they were represented in slightly different vestiments. The old Oriental empires followed the Egyptians in making a woman symbolize the moon. The Babylonians had Astoret, the Hittites had Hepet, the Greeks rejoiced in their Aphrodite, and the Romans in Venus. The creation was one of the principal themes of the ancients. In this they clearly distinguished between the Creator himself and the work consummated, making a prominent dividing line in their symbols. I shall first take the symbols of the deity as the Creator. The ancients looked upon the power of creation as one of the attributes of the Almighty. The ancients had numerous figures, always conventional, symbolizing this attribute. Apparently the most popular were adorned serpents. Many designs of these serpents are found in ancient carving and literature. Two of the serpents were especially prominent. One was the cobra, called in the motherland Naga. This one had 7 heads. This number was given to correspond with the 7 stages of creation, the 7 mental planes, etc. The 7-headed serpent originated in Mu and was called Naga. In various Mu colonies it received additional names. Judging from the geographical position of the colonies where we find it, I think the lower western half of Mu was where it was used. People using this symbol were called after it, the Nagas. The other serpent was covered in feathers instead of scales. This originated in the motherland and was there called Quetzalcoatl. It is still to be found in the impenetrable jungles and swamps of the Yucatan in Central America, but extremely rare. One of the most noteworthy conventional designs of the Quetzalcoatl is the dragon, so prominently found in northern parts of Eastern Asia today. In this effort, the ancients carried the design to the extreme of conventionality, for they endowed it with a crest, which it had not, wings, which it had, and legs, which were long instead of mere claws or feet. They not only gave it the wherewithal to fly, but to run also, which it could not do. The Pueblo Indians of Arizona and New Mexico bestowed on it the names of the bearded serpent as well as Quetzalcoatl. The Quiche Mayas, in their sacred book Popol Vuh, refer to it as follows. All was immobility and silence in the darkness. In the night, only the Creator, the Maker, the Dominator, the serpent covered with feathers. They who endanger, they who create, they are surrounded by green and blue. The name is Gukumas. The name Gukumas does not refer to the Creator himself, but to his 4 great creative forces. Hence they are referred to as they. I found in the Nukta Indian tableau a serpent having a plume on its head, unquestionably one of the conventional designs of the Quetzalcoatl. Although the names of all other objects of the tableau were given, that of the serpent was omitted by these British Columbian Indians. As sacred symbols of their creative powers, these were all held in great reverence. They stood next to the sun, the most sacred symbol of all. I also find the feathered serpent in Egypt. In the tomb of Pharaoh Seti, it is to be seen a painting of a serpent having 3 heads, 4 legs of a man, and feathered wings. The Sacred 4 is among the oldest religious conceptions. I found it in the sacred inspired writings of Lemuria also. The Sacred 4 are the great 4 primary forces, coming from the Almighty. First brought order out of the chaos throughout the universe, and then on command created the universe with all bodies and life therein. When creation was completed, they were given charge of the physical universe. Today, the universe and all physical life is controlled by these forces. The ancients held these forces in such reverence that nearly All, if not all,